There is increasing talk and concern about a possible Israeli strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. The country's civil defense chief says hundreds of Israelis could die in a war that may last around a month. What about that? Let's get some perspective from Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren. Ambassador, thanks so much for being here.
It was good to be here, Brett.
You wrote an editorial in the Wall Street Journal this week. In it, you said Israel has been essentially sounding the alarm about Iran for 2 decades. And you point out about the nuclear program. You say last week, Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said the annihilation of the Zionist regime is the key for solving the world's problems. And then you end by saying this: as the repeated attempts to negotiate with Iran have demonstrated, neither diplomacy nor sanctions has removed the threat. A combination of truly crippling sanctions and a credible military threat, a threat that the Ayatollahs still do not believe today may yet convince Iran to relinquish its nuclear dreams. But time is dwindling, and with each passing day, the lives of 8 million Israelis grow increasingly imperiled. The window that opened 20 years ago is now almost shut. Ambassador, that sounds different. We've talked many times. It sounds different.
Well, let me just add one thing that you didn't quote, Brett, and that is that no country has a greater stake in trying to remove the threat of a nuclear Iran by diplomatic means than the state of Israel. We have the most skin in the game. We are talking about 8 million citizens. Some of them are my children. We have a great stake in resolving this by diplomatic means. But we are coming up to a juncture where we have waited for these 20 years. It took the world 10 years to take us seriously, and it took them another 8 years to impose serious sanctions on Iran. And alas, the sanctions haven't worked. Diplomacy hasn't worked. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, the Iranian nuclear program is actually accelerating. They have enough enriched uranium now for close to 5 nuclear devices, and that program, big parts of it, thousands of centrifuges, are moving underground to places where our capabilities will be incapable of reaching them. And this is a country which, as you said, never misses an opportunity to say that they want to wipe Israel off the map. Just yesterday, the Supreme Leader said just that.
Some people in this country are seeing moves inside Israel that are suggesting that things are speeding up. For example, Avi Dichter, a member of the opposition in the Knesset, joined the government as Minister of the Home Front, which is essentially equivalent to, I guess, Secretary of Homeland Security. Theory, I guess, is that he's being brought in to sway the group of 8 ministers comprising the Security Cabinet that will decide the go, no-go decision on a strike against Iran. True?
Well, I wouldn't read too much into it, Brett. Avi Dichter is a very revered figure in our security establishment. He was a member of our Delta Force, a commander there. He is replacing my former commander in the Army, who is becoming Israel's ambassador to China. But we are always vigilant. We're surrounded by 70,000 terrorist rockets in Lebanon, at least 10,000 in the hands of Hamas in Gaza. We always have to be vigilant because our front lines are our neighborhoods.
Is it fair to say what we're seeing on the ground and what we're hearing from people there, that this is sort of accelerating, that as you note, the window is closing and that Israel is preparing?
Well, the window is closing. We're dealing with this Iranian regime, which, in addition to its pledges to destroy us, is actually backing up its words with deeds. They've carried out terrorist attacks against Israeli targets across 5 continents, 25 countries, including right here in Washington, D.C., an attempt to, along with assassinating the Saudi ambassador, to blow up the Israeli embassy here. They've killed 5 of our citizens in Bulgaria a few weeks ago. They are providing these tens of thousands of rockets to terrorists at our borders. They're trying to kill Americans. They killed American soldiers in Afghanistan and in Iraq. They're helping the Assad regime murder their own people in Syria. We have to take them seriously.
Today, the Israeli President Peres, in an interview, said that Israel alone should not and cannot attack Iran's facilities, saying this: "It is clear to us that we alone cannot do it. We can postpone it, but we know clearly that we have to go along with America. There are questions of coordination and timing, but no matter how much nearer the danger is growing, at least this time, we are not alone." Now, Haaretz is just moving a story quoting Netanyahu aides saying, quote, "In opposing Israeli attack on Iran, Peres forgot his place." What is the messaging coming out there from the Israeli president and perhaps from inside the Netanyahu administration?
Well, I have nothing but the highest respect for President Peres. Recently, I had the honor of accompanying him when he received the highest award that America gives to a civilian, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But at the end of the day, Brett, the decisions have to be made by the democratically elected government of Israel. That is our duty, that is our right, and that right has also been recognized by President Obama. President Obama said publicly that Israel has the right to defend itself against any Middle Eastern threat, and only Israel, as a sovereign nation, can decide how best to defend its citizens.
In other words, you're saying President Peres has a ceremonial role in Israel, and that what he's saying here does not speak to the Netanyahu administration.
The buck ends with the government of Israel, and that buck is in Jerusalem with the democratically elected Israel government.
We will follow this very closely. Ambassador Oren, thank you very much.
As always, Brett, thank you.